Hello and welcome back to Purple Does Poison, a Druid Blight caster life. This is level 24 and we are standing here looking down on the drow city of Sschindylryn and staring up at the rather imposing ziggurat, which is our destiny for this episode. We'll just come and have a seat on these steps. Well, we think about what we've got to share with you before we go in. 24 on my standard druid, I took Burst of Glacial Wrath. It made sense on that build. He's got quite a lot of crowd control and he's evocation focused, which is that the Glacial Wrath is evocation, I think. On this build, I thought maybe a little bit less. He has some decent crowd control options anyway, not least of which this contagion thing. And evocation isn't really the main thrust of his spell casting. We've gone into conjuration for the acid well. So I thought, especially given that we're not going to be hanging around at the cap, the Glacial Wrath can be very useful for holding things that otherwise couldn't be held, like plants and undead, all this kind of annoying stuff that just laugh at your mass hold and your greater shout and that kind of stuff. The Glacial Wrath would take care of that. And on the cold build in particular, it's very good because it prepares things for taking full damage from your big hitting cold damage spells that you follow up with. So the Glacial Wrath would debuff the opponents if they are resistant or immune to cold damage, and then your Tsunami and your Dragon Breath would just annihilate them. So that's why it's a particularly good choice there. Here I've gone with Intensify. We're using the Evergreen for more or less boundless mana points, so I saw no harm in costing us an extra few points and adding the Intensify on everything as well. So we've got some really crazy costs now. We've got 77 spell cost on the biggest ones. It could be even higher than that, but now on the epic destinies we've gone for the second one in Draconic. It's a bit more spell power, but also minus 5% cost on all spells. We're not going to turn our noses up at that. That's pretty good. So we've got that second core, and we've also got the first core back again in the Shadow Dancer. And all this good stuff you saw at level 23, that hasn't changed. Right, at the time of recording, you guys have come up with 2 suggestions already for the next Purple Life. One of them was Paladin, which is very good generally for any character to have Paladin past lives, because every one of those gives 10 healing amp for future lives. It's probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest, heroic past life you can get. Certainly for general, if you're not sure where you plan to end up. Anything aside from a Warforged or some kind of negative thing like a Dark Apostate or a Pale Master would benefit hugely from the Paladin past lives. Ironically enough, the other suggestion was the Dark Apostate. Now that one I don't know too much about, and the past life there is very niche. I wouldn't recommend doing it unless you're really into negative stuff. I wouldn't recommend doing that just for the past life, but yes, could be interesting to try. So I've made a note of that too. I should probably mention the past lives that Purple currently has at this stage. He doesn't have too much, so it won't take me very long. So epic past lives, he has 2 of the brace and 2 energy criticals. I think I'll probably give him a 3rd energy critical this time around, because that's been helpful So that would mean for any sort of damage dealing caster, he had a nice chance of, well, actually, no, because some of them aren't covered by that. It's only acid, cold, electric, fire, sonic. But it's helpful still for most casters. So I was thinking of putting him an extra one on there. Or maybe I should just go with the brace and finish that off, because that's helpful on any build. Let me know what you guys think. Or perhaps I'll wait and see what is decided for the next life and choose accordingly. So he's got 4 epic past lives. Heroic ones we have. Does it say how many times you've taken those? I think it must be just one, because it says 2 times there for the warlock, doesn't it? So yeah, he's got a paladin, a cleric, and 2 warlock. So the 2 warlock is 3 MRR each, which is nice for the tanky builds he's been doing. Paladin is 10 healing amp, and the cleric is 1 on conjuration DCs, which is very helpful to this current build. So maybe we could consider, well, we could certainly consider the warlock side of it, because we've already done a warlock in the video series. So probably steer away from warlock builds, at least for now. But paladin and cleric are still on the table. Ironically, those are the 2 that you've suggested. We haven't done a video on either, so we could go into that. But if we were looking to sort of move him in the fullness of time towards some kind of completionist, then obviously we've already done those 2. I was thinking of sort of catchy titles that I could give depending on what you guys chose for the next time around. I came up with Purple Does Potions for an alchemist, which also would be a very niche one to choose. I think that gives transmutation DC bonus as a past life, which now there are many builds who wouldn't make use of that at all. So very niche, but the alchemist is great fun to play. It's not. It has some similarities actually with this beehive build that I'm doing at the moment, with the evasion and the making things vulnerable to the element that you use when you hit for the first time. The debuffing. I played it once many moons ago and had a lot of fun with that. One of the differences between Alchemist and this one is auto granted the evasion. With the Alchemist you've got to choose the feat, and you don't get it until 12, I don't think. I think it's a feat called Liquid Luck, and you have to select it at level 12 as one of your Alchemist bonus feats. So yes, I thought Purple Does Potions, and then Purple Rage for a Barbarian. That's as far as I've got. So keep the suggestions coming. My plan is to, in the epilogue at the end of the series, to do a sort of a rundown of what's been suggested, and let you have your say as to what you might most like to see among those suggestions. Do it that way. I've already showed the Epic Destinies, haven't I? Just heavily invested into Primal with a bit in Draconic and Shadow Dancer. Shadow Dancer, I'm there for the Force and Universal spell power, but also the potential for boosting reflex saves to make our evasion as effective as possible, along with the reflex saves in the Draconic tree. I think that's about all for the waffle. Oh, there was one more thing. Given that this is a dark area and quest in general as well, I just wondered if any of you guys had any suggestions. Because my recordings, especially in the dark quests, seem to be erring on the too dark side and making it a bit difficult to follow on occasion. I don't know if it's just my screen or if you guys are seeing it lighter, then great. But if anybody knew of something I could maybe do, I mean, I have tried changing the game settings. I set the gamma, for example, to 1.5 because that's way lighter. I don't know if you can see this in the recording, if it actually affects it, but the standard gamma level is of 1 is that, and now that is, if you saw a change there, that's unbelievably dark, at least on my screen. So I go with a 1.5 on that and try and lighten things up, but it still seems fairly dark. So I was wondering if anybody knew of any settings in this OBS recording software that I'm using to iron that out a bit and make it a little bit easier to follow for you all. Failing that, maybe I could just choose lighter quests. I've chosen this one partly because we did the last in the last level we did the last of the Evening Star 1 chain, the battle for Evening Star. This one is the last of the Evening Star 2 chain in the Drow city of Sschindylryn. Let's just get up. And this one is called The Portal Opens. We're going to be brave and we're going to go for a Mighty Reaper 2 in this one. Okay. Now, one thing about this quest I do remember, there are loads of shrines here, so if we did happen to run short of mana with the intensify that we've just added and all the metas being on, I'm sure there would be ample places where we could sort that matter out. Let's not forget our lightning, our shard storm. Making maximum possible use of the spell-like ability, the carrion swarm thing, and yes, it's doing very well for us. Oh, that was such a waste of an acid well. One target, that's criminal. But despite my profligate use of the mana, you can see we're still doing okay. Do I have any remove curse? Yes. Yes, let's keep the old lightning going. Shard storm. Now that's one thing I hadn't considered. The more oh, beautiful. Yeah, the shard storm's just cleaning. The carrion swarm's just cleaning up at the moment, isn't it? I think it scales with character level, does it?
Has just arrived, meeting you as promised.
Per character level, yes. So the higher we go, the stronger it will get. Maybe I should have been a little bit more ambitious and gone for 4, but I always worry a little bit because of the healing side of things. It only takes us to get into trouble once on the health side, and I just can't one-click heal like the standard druid can do. So that does cause us an issue. Die.
A portal lies ahead. The interior.
So if you've not done this one before, from that main room where we were, with the shrine. There are passages to the west and to the east, and you need to go and retrieve an artifact from each one to make the quest progress. Taking our negative and acid potions to help poison and acid spell power, because these two SLAs are what we're leaning heavily on here. If you don't know which way to go, if you want the quick way to finish, always go to the right when you enter one of these from one of these portals. So always to the right, and you'll get towards the objective. There are some optional objectives in here as well. Oh God! And to the right again. That was beautiful. I think there's somebody else here that we haven't seen, yes. Do you know, I'm a bit embarrassed here so far at not trying the higher level. We look strong here, don't we?
Mute watch throughout this area. You'll need to take care of them before you'll be able to reach the spell.
Trying to make sure Shard Storm and the Carrion Swarm are always on cooldown.
With its protectors defeated, you may now take the ceremonial dagger.
What lies inside? Let me see.
Come on, take. Plenty of shrines, as you can see. So that's that one side done. We need to go and get the ceremonial item from the other side now. So we're going to the back to the main room and to the other side of it. So far, at least, well, things are dying so quickly. It's not costing us too much mana to kill them. So far, we're doing really nicely with the mana, even with the addition of Intensify on everything. And like there, I hadn't seen that there were any opponents because they were hiding, and just boom. It's hard to believe it is actually Reaper 2 and I haven't clicked normal by accident. I think this build has a good number, so again, going to the right in the new area, this build has a good number of options for crowd control and heavy damage on opponents, so whilst we're doing that, we're not taking the incoming damage, which is always a plus. So again, I think I've said before that web trip thing, that's one of the things our Hive Master does not make us immune. You see the section at the bottom there, immune to knockdown. Well, that particular knockdown we can't seem to resist. I think there is a way in the game to stop that. Is it if you, well, obviously if you kill the thing that's doing it, but I think there was, somebody once said in the forum there was something you could do against that, but I can't remember what it was. Don't you just hate spread out targets? just stand here.
Drow Guardian's dead. The spider brooch is now yours for the taking.
Say what secrets this contains.
Right, on the strength of what we've done so far, I'm definitely going to try again next time around to push a bit harder. Maybe I'll try and do the quest to start with, and then the waffle afterwards. I keep threatening to do that, but it doesn't quite seem right somehow. I like to talk first and then do the quest. But the danger then is you lose all your chatter if the quest goes horribly wrong. Or maybe I could just leave it at that. Make an attempt, and if the attempt fails, you just don't get to see a quest completion. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, is there? Many of you might prefer a sad end. I think generally some of the videos I watch, I don't know if any of you have ever heard of a game called XCOM. The version I played was called Enemy Within. It's like a turn-based strategy thing. And you've got to stop aliens from taking over the world. But when I watch other people playing that online, the more dire the situation, and when things start getting really bad, that's when I start getting more interested. If somebody's kind of strolling through it like we're more or less doing here, it becomes a bit less of an appeal to me. So yeah, I should definitely up the difficulty, I think, for the next one and see how we go on. I think we've definitely got the potential to do it. Are we going through now? Yeah.
The Temple of Loth lies before you.
Now, if I hadn't mentioned before,
Positioned high atop the gigantic
you can go on these little thingies up here. It's very unlike me to reach it first time, and we can probably this is where the archers and any with decent range would go, but also because we have our enlarge on now, we can probably reach things from up here as well. It's a really cowardly thing to do in my situation, as I've just been absolutely destroying everything up to this point. Plus the fact it's more than stupid in this exact situation, because I haven't triggered the end scene, I don't think. Yeah, there you go. Let's be brave and stay in the middle of it all. Oh, that was a bit too early. I don't think she's gonna send them against us just yet. What do you reckon to a little earthquake here? We could give it a go, couldn't we?
Loth, the thread of the weave is my gift to you. Now enter the portal, girl. And
I think they're all gonna spread out, aren't they, rather than coming after us. Let's try anyway. Shall we have a lightning thing? Let's make her vulnerable to the poison just in case she's not. Yeah, she's taking some nice damage there. She's still taking the damage even though she's in sort of invincible mode at the moment. That's good. As is everything around us. I'm not even attacking these things and they're dying. So all I've done is the 2 SLAs and poison there, and she's racking up some nice damage. Yeah, look at that up there. It's working very nicely, the Carrion Swarm. That's probably the biggest takeaway from this early epic experience that I really did underuse it initially.
Help me defeat your foes. Did I not bring you the thread of the weave?
And given the fact we've been leaning on that so strongly, and it's such a cheap spell, we could certainly have done without some of the like the evergreen. Even if we didn't have that, I'm sure we'd be in pretty good shape. And yeah, we've absolutely strolled through that, haven't we? If I had known that, I'm almost apologetic here. It hasn't been much of a challenge at all, that, has it? If I'd known that, I would have set it to 4. I just didn't expect us to be so dominant in there. I'll definitely try the next one on 4. See if we can give ourselves a bit more of a challenge. The next one is probably going to be one of the ones from the Evening Star 3 chain to keep the theme going. So that'll be one of the ones in the Demon Web. So we'll give one of those a go on Reaper 4. Failing that, hope that was okay for you. Thanks very much as always for looking, and keep the suggestions coming for the next time around. If there's something you'd particularly like to see, don't be afraid to speak up in the comments. Don't be like me and just keep your mouth shut all the time. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care.